This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I hope that you'll consider this your vitamin or supplement today for your mind and your heart. Wherever you listen to podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? And if you would leave a rating and a brief written review, it would be so helpful. It assists others in being able to locate and find this podcast. Welcome to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Today, we're going to talk about what limits, leader, are you placing on yourself? Oftentimes, we fall into the trap to think that all of our limitations have been placed upon us by someone else, our parents, our teachers, our spouses, our children, our co-workers, and on it goes. But most of the time, the limitations that we experience are self-imposed. We put them on ourselves. And part of that is, there are lots of reasons. We don't think we're worth it. We're unwilling to try new things. We're listening to negative voices. Sometimes it's our own voice. We can't get over certain situations that have happened in the past. There are a lot of things with doubt and fear and self-limitations. But today, let's talk about the limitations you're placing on yourself and how we get past it. You can get past it. I'm going to give you about, 7 things that I think can help you start letting go of the limitations and start being all that you were created to be. Now, one of the words that will come along here is the word change, and some of us have a bias against it and for it. Very few of us are neutral when it comes to the word change. But regardless of what your age is today as you're listening, just think about some change you have experienced, whether it was changing schools, changing careers, you got married, you had children, you received an education, you moved to a new house. There are any number of changes that happen in our lives. And every change that you have ever experienced, every change really comes about as a result of a collision of a new idea with our mind. That was, if we went to school and graduated, it was because lots of new ideas came into our mind and collided with our mind. If you're pretty happy where you are and all of a sudden there's an opportunity at work or to move somewhere or to join the military, all these sorts of things. But before those changes ever took place, your mind had a collision with something new. And so you can do it. Because even the person who's listening to my voice, who's the most against change, if you look back over your lifetime, you have experienced change. You can't live and not change. If you don't think you've changed, unless you're 4 or 5 years old, go look in the mirror and you'll see a lot of radical changes happened in your life. All right, let's remember, if we're talking now about how do I loosen up and get rid of some of the self-imposed limitations that I've placed on myself. Let's talk for a moment about something we come back to time and time again, and that's the matter of time. When we say I don't have time, we're really speaking I'm not a very good manager of it, because everyone in this world and every continent, every social strata, every economic standing, everyone has the same 24 hours a day. So we must remember this. Everything that you do requires time, and everything that you do that requires time represents a choice. Oftentimes, we just continue to do what we've always done, and we never even stop and analyze, why do I do this? Why am I involved in this? Why am I spending time on this particular thing? Because it's a choice. Oftentimes, we don't really have to do this. We could be doing something else, which fits what we want to see happen in our lives. Now, I hate to keep coming back about watching television because I'm not totally against it. But if you sit around by the hour and watch television, That's a choice you make. Now you're saying, well, this is my chillaxing time. This is my winding down from work. And I get that. But if you have projects and you have dreams and you have goals and you have things in your life that are going unfulfilled, it's not that you don't have the time, it's that you're being robbed of the time by making poor choices. So you have the amount of time to get done whatever it is you really would want to get done. But everything you do that requires time represents a choice. Don't blame someone else for your poor choices. You see again the theme? These are self-imposed limitations. There are some things that I have no control over my time. If you have an employer and they tell you this is what you're going to do, well, then that's what you're going to do. You don't have a choice. But when you get off work and you go home, you do have a choice. And if you're doing things that require time, I'm not saying everything you're doing or anything any of us are doing are bad, but we need to understand that there may be others who are taking the same time that we're kind of just lollygagging through life, may be actually doing things to improve their present and to really significantly improve their future. So one of the first steps to taking the self-limitations off is start evaluating how you spend your time. The second item that I want to share with you in regard to these self-imposed limitations and how do we get rid of them is you're going to have to learn to be flexible. Now, I know that some chafe when they hear the word. What do you mean, Dr. Ron, by we have to be flexible if we're going to take off some of these self-imposed limitations? Flexibility is nothing more than your willingness to change and to try new things. You can say, well, I'm sort of against that. I don't like that. I understand that. But if you don't become a little more flexible, and you don't have a willingness to at least explore some change in your life, or you have a fear of trying new things, then you are going to walk around the rest of your life with these self-imposed limitations that you've put on yourself. No one else has put them on you. You have put them on you. I would say try to change something. Do something different. Maybe something as small and seemingly insignificant as drive to work a different route tomorrow. Take your spouse to a restaurant you've never been to and try something you've never eaten before. And I can tell you, I can almost sense and feel the resistance through the podcast airwaves. My friend, if you're not willing to be flexible and to change even small things, you're going to live a life of self-imposed limitations. Learn to be flexible. The next one is optimistic. You're going to remove the self-imposed limitations. You're going to need to become an optimistic person. Again, I can hear your resistance. I wasn't born that way. I'm a realist. No one ever calls themselves a pessimist. They're a realist. And as I continually say, I am not going to allow the pessimists of this world to co-opt the word realist, because optimistic is as realistic a way of looking at the world. I would even deposit for your thinking it's more realistic than being negative all the time. So let me give you one simple exercise where you can begin to practice optimism. And here's a tool that will help you. Tonight, before you go to bed, look at your calendar, look at your list. If you've written down goals or things that you want to do or you need to do, get it all out there and begin planning your day ahead tonight. I would advise you to do what I do. Write down the 3 things that are so significant in moving my business, my life forward, that I will not go to bed tomorrow night unless all 3 of those things are done. And plan your day ahead. One of the simplest rules for creating an optimistic spirit, if that is not your natural bent, is tonight before you go to bed, plan tomorrow. Do not allow others to hijack your day. Don't allow whoever yells the loudest to begin to control your day tomorrow. You control it. And you can practice optimism by planning your day ahead and by doing it tonight. All right, the next thing that I would suggest on how to get rid of these self limitations we've placed on ourselves is learn a new skill. It was Peter Drucker that said the only thing that will never become obsolete in the future is having the ability and the desire to learn a new skill. I mean, I don't know what that is. If it's driving a certain kind of a vehicle, a motorcycle, a scooter, if it's learning a language, if it's learning how to cook or how to paint. I mean, I could sit here all afternoon. It doesn't matter what it is. But when was the last time you set about intentionally trying to learn a new skill? Just by doing that and going through that exercise, and if you're married, I would invite your spouse to be a part of that. It's like it expands our mind and our spirit by trying some new skills. We'll start out and stumble and we won't feel comfortable and it's new and we're not proficient in it, but stick with it. Learn something new. What I've discovered is when you seek to learn a new skill, or a new subject at least, it sort of energizes you in all of life and in the other. And it'll be amazing as you're learning these new skills, you'll learn things and see things that you can apply to every area of your life. So if you want to start getting rid of the self-limitations you've placed on yourself, learn a new skill. The next one is one I harp on continually, and that is reading. Now, you don't have to be as aggressive at reading. I like reading. It has for years been one of my main hobbies. I just love it. But we have to read to kind of stretch our mind. I just got back from a plane trip, and I'm amazed at all the people on planes who sit there mindlessly playing solitaire on their iPhones or playing Candy Crush. Now, I'm not against that for a few moments of relief and distraction, and it's okay. But on 3 and 4 hour plane rides, that a person has nothing more to do than play solitaire with themselves on a phone. You can carry a Kindle or you can carry a book, but read something in the field that you want to know about. Read something in your own field. Read something devotionally. If you're a believer, read the Bible. Read some devotional literature. Do something to expand your horizons. It amazes me that people just while away the hours and then complain about the government and their parents and the school systems and everyone who's let them down. And in meantime, they are captured by their own self-limitations. The next thing that I would say that would help you to take the limitations off yourself is to accept people for who they are. All of us have had good and bad relationships. There are times that people that we loved have walked out on our lives. There have been times that people have treated us in a way that we were misunderstood. And we can be frustrated and angry and hold a grudge and say, this is horrible. But some things you can't change. If you can change them, try. If you need to ask forgiveness, do so. But at the end of the day, just accept people for who they are. Relationships are vital and important. But to be in relationships, it takes both sides, and sometimes they won't. But sometimes people let us down. Sometimes people aren't all that they say they are or all that they're going to be. But accept people for who they are. Put a period at the end of the sentence. Don't allow it to ruin your life or to place a limitation on you. Well, some people call problems growth opportunities. Instead of seeing problems and disaster around every corner, if you want to remove the self-imposed limitations, why not begin to see this problem, this issue, this as a growth opportunity? How does God plan to stretch me and grow me? What new truth will I see by going through this that I may have missed had I never had this heartache, this disappointment, or this problem? Quit seeing everything as it's raining on your parade. but rather see it that I'm getting ready to take a graduate class in growth opportunities through pain and disappointment. And it'll start taking some of those self-imposed limitations off of you. All right, what limits you? Why don't you get alone somewhere today and begin to ask yourself those questions, and remember, take an evaluation of how you use your time. Become a flexible person. Be optimistic and start practicing it by planning your tomorrow tonight. Learn a new skill. Begin to read on a particular subject. Accept the people and accept the irregular people in your lives as well. And remember, that problem you're going through right now may be nothing more than a growth opportunity. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I hope today this has been a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. Wherever you download podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Please leave a rating and a brief review. It would be very helpful. And remember, leader, you're doing better than you think you are, and don't place limitations on yourself. Until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying have a great and blessed